Originally, I was from Burma, and in 1996, a civil war broke out between the Burmese military regime against the Karen, and that's how I got to Thailand, and we lived in a refugee camp for a while, and we snuck into Bangkok, Thailand, and applied for United Nations to grant us permission to come to the United States. My mom is the one who advocated me to go to college. Like, she always pushed me, she always motivated me to do my best, and because she never had that opportunity in Burma.
I was born in Mogadishu, the capital city. I lived there until I was about 5 years old. I was born at the start of the Civil War, so from the beginning of my birth, my mother and my entire family was fleeing Somalia to safety. So I did live in Ethiopia for a couple of years before we got a sponsorship from my uncle in the U.S. to come to the U.S. My mother didn't go to college, she didn't go to high school, she barely completed elementary school. I do have some family who went to college, but not very many who are experienced in the college process.
My family expectations of me is to have a job and be able to move out because they're moving down south soon, so my family's moving down south soon, so I'll be left on my own, so they expect me to get into college because if I don't, then I'll be on my own.
I actually think that low-income students have parents as role models, but as role models to be people who persist often, and they see that in their parents. But they don't know how to get to college because that may not have been, for a first-generation student, what their parent did to be successful in the ways that they are. A counselor can be the person who can articulate what college is going to be about and what they're going to get out of it.
If you look at any school that is known as a prep school, those places, they've got ratios of counselors to students that are dramatically better than the almost 750 to 1 ratio you can find at times in our public schools.
If the counselor to student ratios are so dramatic, something like 500 to 600 to 1, then having another person who's committed and enthusiastic, but who can also get into sort of the daily life of the student and help them figure out how to problem solve. That's a really important feature.
Making sure that there are people around, whether they're others in the school system or volunteers that literally become allies and coaches and advocates on behalf of students who might not have a built-in support system. To, number one, help them think about this, but also to start to navigate the things that you start to hit. What happens if you didn't take 9th grade algebra and you realize when you're in senior high that you really want to go to college? Well, it's not an insurmountable thing, but it's a problem and it has to be overcome, and there have to be people who help you find your way through that.
We also have to make sure that every student, especially low-income students, has a caring adult in their life who can help guide them. Most middle-class families have that in the form of their parent. In low-income families, sometimes there's not 2 parents, or the parents are working so hard, or they don't speak English, so they have no familiarity with the college process. So I think finding some kind of caring adult, and that can either be done through volunteerism, or in our case at Mission Possible, by bringing an AmeriCorps member in and providing that support.
Applying to college is not an easy process. I always wanted, to go back to my experience and say, okay, what did I find least helpful? What did I find most helpful? And how can I relate that information to my students?
It was a great experience, having a coach, a coach. I wouldn't say a coach. I would say mentor, more of a mentor. It's like somebody you could connect to. Like a college person. They're there. They're doing it. They know all the ins and outs of college and stuff like that. Gives you, that motivation, be like, hey, I want to be there just like him,
For me, it was that big sister or big brother that you never had. And by having, my coach next to me, which was Kate, it was helpful. It just wasn't that she helped me fill out the forms and, did a little research for me, but it was that outside factor too that played a huge role, just about future goals that we have and things that we want to do with our life. It's helped me tremendously to just look at my surrounding and say to myself, wow, I can actually do it. And if I can't, I know I can fall back to someone such as Kate or as my coach can slightly help guide me.
My relationship with my coach was really a significant factor in the college application process. I feel as though I knew that I had the potential to go to college. I knew that I was going, but to have someone, a mentor, a counselor, someone who stays on you, who knows the process, and they can just tell you when things are due, and I guess guide you in the direction that you're supposed to, that the goal is college, but you have all of these really small steps instead of this really big jump, was, I guess, a really important part to me too.
I am a first-generation college student, and so there was always the expectation in my family that I would go to college, but at the same time, my parents weren't able to provide a lot of financial assistance. And so I was able to go to college on scholarship, which was wonderful, and I've always been really grateful for that. So when I was a senior in college, I knew that I wanted to go out and help people, but I had no idea how I wanted to help them.
We worked on your special.
I received an email about Admission Possible, and in researching the program, I ran across a newspaper article that's highlighted a student and a coach. And the article just talked about how the coach would stay after school until 8 or 9 o'clock at night working with the student, or they would meet on the weekends at coffee shops. And I just thought that their relationship was amazing.
I was really attracted to Admission Possible as an AmeriCorps organization. I really loved the mission, helping students with fewer resources than many students have get into college and get that leg up and sort of give themselves the opportunity to improve their future is something that I really strongly believe in.
I would say that my relationship with my students is very unique in a high school setting. As an AmeriCorps member and a recent college graduate, I'm closer in age to my students than a lot of the teachers that they interact with, and my role in their life is very different.
I loved my education at McAllister. I loved the whole experience, and it's one of the things that really drove me to want to give back, to serve others in a way that can help them get a similar experience.